Hey, what's up guys? Chris here, back in another video. Welcome to another episode of Camera Junkie, the Camera Junkie. Decided to start doing this like more camera conspiracy style because I just don't have a studio right now to shoot videos in, and I won't for several months. And I was like, you know what, I want to continue to keep doing this channel. It was building quite quickly, so let's just go ahead and get back into it. I'm on a GoPro today, Hero 9 Black, 4K 60, because I'm just out for a walk. So this video I want to talk about a little bit about my predictions for the GH6. And not specs wise, like I'm not talking specs wise, I'm talking more along the lines of like timeline, when I think it's going to come out. And I'll probably talk a little bit like why I think we're getting a GH5 Mark II. Just get into that first a little bit. So I don't really understand why we're getting a GH5 Mark II. And Micro Four Thirds is in desperate need for a more professional level camera. And to be honest with you, I think that was an easy move for them, for Panasonic, to be able to put out something along these lines. A very mild upgrade. And some things that people were looking for, like being able to charge the camera while using it with a new battery. I'm interested in this camera. I actually really am. I think it's a pretty badass little camera, to be honest with you. Like I said, it's not for people who've been shooting the GH5 already. Like, I didn't say that, but other people have said that. It says it's more for people who are, you know, moving over to the system. Micro Four Thirds, I think, is the best mirrorless system to get into, to be honest with you, if you're just starting out. Even if you're a seasoned vet. Because the great thing about the Micro Four Thirds system is you have two major manufacturers that make lenses for it. So when you're looking for something along the lines of, you know, what's, you know, a really good lens, man, you got Olympus that's got a full lineup. You got Panasonic that's got a full lineup of lenses to use for that system, and it's pretty nice. So, I mean, I like that part. A lot of people wanted to do these live streaming and stuff like that. Panasonic came out with a camcorder a while back that could do live streams. So this one, apparently, the GH5, you can apparently get connect, I think, to your Wi-Fi, which I think it's about damn time. You can connect to the Wi-Fi in your house and do live streams straight from the camera. That's pretty badass. Especially like maybe you're, I don't know, walking around like a location somewhere. I think that's probably something along the lines of like, I think they did this because of the Olympics. And this gets into my next point. The GH6. When do I think this camera is going to come out? I think that what you'll see. So Panasonic, after the 2016 Olympics, announced that the 2020 Olympics, which was supposed to be last year, but due to COVID, moved to 2021. And I think that's why we had to wait another year for a camera. Was because they were planning on probably putting these things out during the Olympics last year. That's probably why we didn't hear about the R3, Canon R3. I think that's going to be out for the Olympics. Possibly the Canon 1R. I don't think they'll both come out at the same time. Two flagship type cameras at the same time. I don't think that'll come out at the same time. But typically, Olympic years are big years for cameras, because that's a big event with photographers, videographers. That's the biggest, you know, event. You have, you know, millions of people worldwide watching the Olympics, as well as in person. You know, they can have commercials for cameras and stuff like that, so they can advertise in front of the entire world and kind of bring back the camera industry, especially if you have a bunch of new features on cameras and stuff like that. So it really is the perfect time for new cameras. So that's why I think the GH6, we will see it around, I don't think we will see it, sorry, at before the Olympics. It'll come out after the Olympics. They will probably have commercials for it and stuff like that during the Olympics, and then it'll be available shortly after. That's my kind of prediction on that. GH6. I'm excited about this camera. I'm kind of going back and forth. Right now I own 2 cameras. Neither one I'm shooting on right now. I'm on a GoPro right now. But I own a Panasonic S5, which I love. Big problem with Panasonic cameras right now is that there's just not any damn lenses. And the thing is Panasonic seems to be totally content with putting out 1 lens a year. I'm not content with 1 lens a year. If it wasn't for Sigma, I think the L-mount Alliance would have been dead on arrival. Yeah. So, I mean, you look at Leica, yes, you can say Leica's got a bunch of lenses, but I don't want to spend $6,000 on a lens. Especially when I could get this basically the same damn lens for like $1,000, you know? So, yeah, anyways, moving on. Yeah, so I think it's gonna be around the Olympics. I think right after the Olympics is over when you'll be able to buy that camera, GH6. I'm torn right now, personally, between cameras that I want to buy. I like the GH6. I like the GH6 because I think this camera is going to be new, or it's going to be innovative. I think something's going to be different on this camera. I really do. Like, I think it's going to have great autofocus. I wonder if maybe that's what they've been doing for the last 3-4 years almost. Yeah, 4 years now. Is trying to, obviously they didn't put it in the GH5, but GH5 Mark II, but why would you put it in a Mark II version when you know you got the 6 coming out? I don't understand why they would do it so close, but put the GH5 Mark II and the GH6 so close to each other, but it could be totally different camera, really, in their eyes. Perhaps the GH6, they're not gonna make a G9 Mark II or whatever the next one's gonna be. It's just gonna be the GH6, and it's gonna have photography features in there as well as high-end video features. You know, maybe they'll put in the high-res mode, something along those lines. Sorry about all this traffic. Perhaps they will put in like the high-res mode, a 90 megapixel image or something along those lines. I think they're most likely going to put a larger sensor in there, more megapixel sensor, because I think they have to get 5.7K. Morning. But I also don't think they have to put it in there, because I'm pretty sure the GH5, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm pretty sure the GH5 was downsampled for 6K or anyway, or 5K video anyway, so maybe they don't need to up the megapixel count. But new sensor, new processor, all that stuff, potentially better autofocus. That'd be pretty badass. I'm definitely interested. I want to have kind of a third camera, so I got Fujifilm X-T4 as my second camera. I love, not necessarily the video quality out of that. The video quality is good. I like the log footage. That's probably my favorite log to deal with because it's so easy to grade. It's not like Sony's APS-C log footage was terrible. Like if you had a shadow, I don't know, maybe I'm just was doing it wrong, I don't know, but when I was trying, I mean, what I do on every other camera seems to work just fine, but when I work with the log footage on the Sony, if there's a shadow at all in the image, it's unrecoverable for me. I don't know. Whatever. There's so much noise in the shadows when I shoot in log that it's not even worth it. So, yeah, GH6. I think it'll be out probably around end of August or early September. That's my predictions. Obviously, they said before the end of 2021, which could bring us into Christmas, but I think that, you know, you're gonna have all these commercials and stuff like that during the Olympics, talking about cameras, right? Because that's 2 weeks of like Super Bowl like coverage, you know what I mean? So I mean, people are going to be in the camera buying mood. Oh man, it's the end of summer, last hurrah, I want to get out and shoot. I need a good camera. GH6 just came out. Let's go get it. Yeah. And I think for like the longtime videographers, photographers, stuff like that, who are watching the Olympics too, or maybe shooting at the Olympics, or if you're lucky enough to go to Japan, I think there's gonna be a bunch of cameras released around that time, and it's gonna be a lot of commercials, a lot of advertisements. It's gonna get people in the camera buying mood. It really is a perfect time, and I think that's the time for Panasonic to kind of capitalize on. See, I'm a firm believer of when all these camera companies come out and they make product announcements like that, like you know, they did the same thing with the S1 and S1R. They did the same thing with the Canon R3. I think these cameras are already in their final stages at this point, you know, and I think it's just to build up the, you know, your gut, like, oh man, I want this, I need this camera so bad. I think that's what they kind of do. I think the GH6 pairing it with that 10 to 25 f1.7, man, that would be one beautiful setup for video, wouldn't it? Not necessarily something like vlogging or anything like that, but on a studio, man, that'd be really great. We'll see. Anyways, that's about it for today's video. Hope you guys enjoyed this new kind of format. We'll see you guys in the next one. Later.